Down the rabbit hole we tumble once again, to a place you remember, but have never truly been, where dim moonlight shines on an age long gone by, where stranger things are happening, and you very well may die. A wonderland unlike any you've ever seen before, captured by a darkness that will shake you to the core. Time is running out. The light is almost gone. Will you become a queen or perish as a pawn? Welcome to Building Wonderland, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Building Wonderland, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. I'm your host, co-founder, and head creative of Creative Catastrophe Games, Kyle Shaw, aka the Design Merc, here to pull back the curtain and show you how we're creating this brand new TTRPG world coming to Kickstarter later this year. We're building the cover design for Module 4 of our 14 module campaign. Let's go. Another day, another cover. We are looking at Module 4 today, which, now I can't give you a whole lot of background into Module 4 because it's a bit of a secret. So, all I can really tell you is what the concept for today's cover is. Concept for today's cover is something of a mushroom forest with a huge, immense, think building tower-sized mushroom. That particular mushroom, and possibly the area around it, is covered in spider webs. Wonder why that is. Anyway, can't get into that. Not going to get into that. However, we are going to make it. Now, because I can't give you guys any real information as to what happens in this module, this part of the campaign, that has to stay because we are intending to make this a competitive campaign. So once the campaign starts, there will be cheese on the line, folks. And when there's cheese on the line, you cannot let the secrets out. So let's build a mushroom forest. Now, with those details, with the wonderful information that my partner in crime, Philip, has provided via his campaign creation, we have already put together a prompt for Midjourney and have already set it on its way. What do we have here? We have a lot of nonsense. Let's check it out. Very interesting. Very Asian inspired. Very interesting. Now, what we're looking for here, and sometimes we don't know exactly what we're looking for when we get started. We're just, start with an idea, start with a concept, and seeing where the art takes us. A lot of these are going to be a little bit off, mainly because most of them are building what looks like homes on top of or out of, on the external side of this large mushroom. And from the description that has been provided to me via the campaign, it is supposed to look more like the center of this mushroom area where the doors and windows are built in to the mushroom rather than structures being built outside the mushroom. Now, of course, this is still
in editing. So we have the ability to, move things around a little bit, change a couple things if we decide. What we're really looking for is to get across the, as the French say, je ne sais quoi of this particular module. And unfortunately, none of these are going to do it. Can you guess why? Can you guess why? The reason why is that we have given Midjourney too much to work with. It's trying to create all of the spider webs, the mushroom forest, and the mushroom itself all in one image. That's way too much for it to understand. It's not going to get all that. So we have to go back to just the mushroom in the mushroom forest. Let's go ahead and look at what our full prompt is here. That. Here we go. An immense bone white mushroom tower dominating a twilight forest clearing. I don't know how much I like forest clearing. Dock as wide as a castle, keep, and its cap vanishing into mist above the treetops. Spin the sky. Alright, we are going to get rid of all of this and say surrounded by forest fog. Cross ancient trees appear tiny, besides the much possible scale. That. All right, so we got rid of a lot of it, but what we're also going to do is we are going to visually prompt it. At least I like to start with this when we're working with a cover anyway. We want to keep the covers along the same style lines when we're building them. We want them all to look part of our universe, obviously. So it helps to give it a style reference of our first cover for Nightmares and Dreamscapes. That gives it a place to start stylistically with our painted watercolor impressionist style. So we'll let us start going there. But the main things we're looking for is, okay, we got a great white cap here. This is very interesting. I kind of like it with the holes in it up at the top there, even though it starts looking like cauliflower, so I'm not entirely sure that's the right way to go. But I don't think it really hit the spider webs everywhere. We may have to manually add those because that may be way too much for it to understand. But while it's doing that, let's go ahead and see what the framing is on our cover. Which of these I think will work for the moment? You know what? Let's just go with this one. Not what we're gonna use. Not the final product. We're just eyeballing where it fits on the page. Some sizing. Here, obviously, a lot of cleanup and a lot of editing, but we just want to see how it fits on the page. In order for that to work, I'd want a lot more forest in there. See, that's part of the problem that I have with these particular images is that it does show you a little bit of scale, but not really because you see these trees and they even though they're closer and that's why they're as big as they are, there's not a lot of forest around here to compare it to. It needs more like a full forest and smaller mushrooms and everything down here, fog and all that. Like all that's gonna have to be laid onto it. So um, that's gonna be the trick. The question is, do we want to put this thing like dead center and really be that that boring? I'm not even sure I like that angle. I think it might actually be better to be looking up at it, like you're almost standing underneath it, so you get kind of the monstrous size, and you can kind of see at least the closer ones to you, you can see the windows and kind of see that there's something in there. It's not just a little hole in a mushroom. Kind of that feeling that you get when you're walking through a big city, like if you walk through the streets of New York and you look up these massive buildings, and you get that very I'm very small kind of feeling. I feel like that's what we want to go with, and not just a dead on image of this huge mushroom in a small forest. And yeah, that's nice. We can make that creepy, but you gotta remember, I don't know if you guys have watched previous episodes or not, but if you have, or if you have, sorry, if you haven't, the style that we're kind of going for with these covers is very obviously watercolor and impressionist, but also the actual intent is suspense. I talked to my partner today about this, and this entire TTRPG is a fantasy horror scavenger hunt mystery that we expect you to die in. We do. It's tough. It's meant to be. It's meant to be scary. Bring your extra drawers. However, while the gameplay is scary and horror and psychological, what we want from the covers is suspense. We don't want to give away the horror until you get into the game. We just want to give you a little taste, just a little taste, right up top. And the master of suspense, at least from back in my day, because I'm old as dirt, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there was a filmmaker by the name of Alfred Hitchcock, and he used to make horror films, suspense films. You look him up. He made films like Psycho, The Birds, Rear Window, things like that. And the way that his eye for what was scary and what was horror was built more in the lead up and the tease and the suspense of what might happen or what could happen, or how dangerous a situation might end up being. He built a career on being the master of suspense. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to kind of use that as a muse, along with our watercolor impressionist visual style, along with some interesting angles and some fear in the middle there. Putting all of that together and making our cover series. So I think this is just a little too basic, to be honest, for what we're looking for. Let's go back to Midjourney and see what it's got for us. Oh, hey, look at all of whatever this is. This is interesting. I mean, it's absolutely incorrect, but it's interesting. All right, look at the spider web. And I'm absolutely digging that. Spider webs are great. Ooh. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's an interesting idea for a city. Putting it entirely around the edge of the mushroom cap? That's pretty wicked. I mean, we're not doing that, but that's pretty wicked. I love how there's just like one door, like there's an elevator in this thing. Never know, we might put one. Interesting. That looks. Oh, we didn't go to the second level. That's what we're doing. Sorry, I completely skipped around. I am so sorry. I was trying to do these in order. See what we got here. Ooh, this is interesting. Interesting. I really like the coloration here, where it's gotten like dark at the root of where the cap is, and then it's darkened around the edges. That's pretty ominous. I dig that. We may have to put that in the old think tank for later. That's all right, AI. Props to you. Not too bad. Not too bad. And see, here's the thing: is this is kind of more what I'm thinking from the description, as far as what the actual like windows and doors in the mushroom look like. Um, this is a little more accurate to that. Now it's not, super flamboyant like the rest of these. I guess that mushroom cap is a cloud, but it is more accurate to uh, the writing, which try to keep to. Oh, that looks pretty good with the web. And there's that right there. That looks like it's in the town square. Okay, so we've got several different issues we have to deal with right now. So the location of where this thing is actually sitting. That's one. The second is exactly how the windows and doors are built into the mushroom. Third is, what does this mushroom cap look like? Like, which route are we going here? And then the fourth is, what angle do we want to see this at? Now, I'm thinking it will probably work out better for us, time-wise, if we kind of construct the mushroom tower that we like, by doing design surgery. But I think we do that first, and then we take that image, use it as an omni reference, and then put a different prompt where we're looking at it from the base up. I mean, I still want to get an angle. Like, I still want to get the mushroom, like the part of the mushroom cap. It's going to be tricky. Not entirely sure if that's even going to be able to work on the cover, because the other trick is that you have Wonderland titling up at the top. All right. So whatever you want to focus on has to be underneath that. Well, the mushroom cap is supposed to be in the friggin' sky. So maybe, maybe what we do is we angle it so that you can clearly see the stalk, and you can clearly see windows and doors and spider webs everywhere and like all of that. but then you only see a part of the mushroom cap. So what the real focus is the fact that you're standing in front of this monstrous tower and you see the windows and doors built into it, like way up there, with no way to get up. Like you don't know how to get up the tower. There's no door in front of you. They're up there. And then spider webs just everywhere. And we'll get into what those look like and what those what that actually the organization of that and how that's going to look. That's a separate thing. If it can give me starter webs, great. That's way more than I would expect. I would expect to lay the spider webs over everything. But I think getting it at the angle that we're talking about, so you get just a hint of mushroom cap from below, so you may not even know what that is. All you're seeing is this huge tower in front of you with doors and windows like 4 or 5 stories already up. Like there's nothing in between you and those other than just tower. In this case, mushroom tower. I feel like that's the more like ominous, eerie look. What do we think? You know what, let's go with it. Here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna re-engineer this prompt now that we got a little love from Midjourney. We see what it came up with. We are going to edit this prompt a bit and get something a little different. All right, so an immense bone white mushroom tower dominating a twilight forest clearing. Castle cat vanishing. All that is fine. So we need to add some more information in the right places is what we need to end up doing. So dominates Twilight Forest clearing. Tiny illuminated windows, carved opening, dot, distant cap, and let's do this. Stop and start halfway up the stock. The cap itself is beautiful. A let's try that and see how that works. We gave it a few more specifics. What we get from there. Just while we're waiting, go ahead and pop this bad boy in here. Got You know what I'm talking about? That's great. That's an amazing image. But if we do it like this, the Wonderland is going to be right over what you're supposed to be paying attention to. And I'm going to have to fade this and want that. So really what you want is you want the mushroom cap like down here. But then it kind of looks like a spaceship. And it's not a mushroom cap anymore. Right? But see, what I'm thinking is if you were to take this right here and you were to tilt it so it was more like right here, and you're just seeing the edge of it there, like in this area, it'll still be, lit a bit in that corner. But then all you'll see is stock, windows, doors, like the whole thing, with smoke, spider webs, super creepy. I think that's the view to go with, because then your focus stops becoming fitting the entire mushroom cap in the image. Which, don't get me wrong, I get the purpose of all that, because you want to draw people in. However, and I've had discussion with my partner, because we've been talking about cover designs and how to brand them, and how to make sure that we're keeping true to not only the story but the feeling, the eerie, creeping suspense sensation, the stress, the being tired, not having enough time. Those are things that you're going to run into in this campaign. They are part of this campaign. So we want to give you a little bit of that on the covers. So while we've been talking about the covers, one of the things that was mentioned was we both grew up in the era of book series like the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew, and all those different R.L. Stine, and all those different authors back in the 80s and 90s. Yes, I realize I'm from the 1900s. I'm a time traveler. I get it. But at the same time, myself and my partner learned a lot from those books and covers, because the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew were very much, even like Choose Your Own Adventure. Like if you would bought the Choose Your Own Adventure books and read those, there was very much a title at the top. There was very much an image right in the middle that gave you kind of a scene from what was going on, and it made you go, ooh, that's somewhere in the book. That looks interesting. I'm going to go read. Don't get me wrong, that was perfect for that particular genre. And we want to take some things from that. Like, we do want to give you a snapshot of what you're going to experience in the module itself. But the trick here is, with any of those books back in the day, they were giving away a little bit of information, but not a lot. You really had no idea how that played into everything else that was going on in the book. You just knew that shot was going to be somewhere, that picture was going to be somewhere. That's great. But I don't want you to know that this is going to be somewhere. I want you to feel this when you look at it and go, I don't want to open this book. but I'm gonna because this is awesome. That's what we're going for. We want you to look at it and go, oh, this looks like a problem. And you're not going to get that from a Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, Choose Your Own Adventure book. You're not going to get that because that's not what they're trying to give you. They're trying to drag you in to reading the adventure and going on the adventure by saying this is what you'll see along the adventure. So this is one of the things you'll see along the adventure. I'm trying to get you, we are trying to get you to become interested in the adventure because you are scared shitless of what will happen. And you also want to play D&D. So there's that. So anyway, that's the goal. We're trying to make this much more visceral reaction than just saying, ooh, that's a pretty picture. I want you to be freaked out. In order to do that, having a little mushroom here, like this, is not going to cut it. Because first of all, it looks like aliens are coming to Wonderland. It looks like this is a ship, and it is beaming up homes of some kind. So this will not quite do the trick. However, we do have to start somewhere. So let's dump that guy and see what we got. Next level is, oh my, that's a lot of windows. So it absolutely did not listen to me when I said start the windows and doors halfway up. That's okay. That's a very believable mushroom. And unfortunately that's very sad because we have to walk many lines in building and designing Wonderland. And one of those lines is the canon of Wonderland and the nightmares and dreamscapes of it all in Wonderland. The trick to that is that we want to give Wonderland an upgrade. But you can't do that with everything in the same manner because you have to be true to the original canon. You can't be messing around with the original work. That stays intact. So those settings and that information and those characters, that all is essential to giving us a backstory of how we got here and where we came from. But what Philip and I are doing is trying to take the Wonderland that you know and you're familiar with and turn on its head, throw a little curse on it, and see what evil things might happen. And in doing that, we want to get away from just the simple structures of Wonderland. Sure, there's forests and there's the dreamscape and there's the Mad Hatter's Tea Party and there's all these different things that some recognizable and some not. But like I said, we want to upgrade those experiences, and I feel like this mushroom is legit from 1985. So we're looking for something a little more jazzy. Now this is interesting. It's absolutely not what I asked for, but it's very interesting. This actually has a road going up the stalk with homes along the way. This is basically a hobbit shroom. Not what we were going for, but a very interesting idea. What do we got? Okay. Mushrooms on top of mushrooms, very old school. This is interesting. What is going on here? I don't know what you guys see, but I see Mario Kart. Do you see Mario Kart? I see Mario Kart. I'm seeing Toad. Interesting, but I'm seeing Toad. Here we go. This is a little more creative. See, I like the whole cap that if you didn't know it was a mushroom, it could absolutely be an alien craft. I think that's, the light underneath, and I think that's cool. That's the direction I'm going to go with that. Because that can make it more ominous because we can shade it different ways. So that's pretty wicked. Obviously, the whole town you have going on here is not good. Okay, very nice. That's kind of a middling version. And there's this guy who's got a whole sky going on top of him. Very interesting. Very. Now the question is, which route do we go? Because there are many options here, obviously. We can chop and cut and maneuver. Surgery until we get the right thing. Well, with this image, since you're not really going to see the cap, you're going to see the underside of the cap. You're not going to see the... So let's try something. Let's take... Bad. Try to find one that has enough cobwebs, but also has a pretty clear stalk. Yeah, I think we're going to edit. We're going to have to put at least 2 of these together to get what we're looking for. Alright, so now the job is pick a cap, pick a stalk, pick a forest land area, essentially. We're going to have to take 3 different pieces and put them together. Kind of slapdashery. It doesn't have to be, perfect or anything because we're not going to actually use that image. We're just using that as a image prompt. So we can have Midjourney take that, give me a different angle from below looking up. And that way we can kind of get there without having to completely build the whole thing from scratch. It is going to take a little bit of time to merge things together, but that's okay. So I don't know about you. I really kind of dig this one. It's got like such a super creepy vibe. And I feel like this part here, like this center area up the cap would actually be pretty good. You're not going to see the top of the cap in the image we're going to end up creating, I don't think. So it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's not going to be in this image. We have images in this particular manual that will show you what the whole thing looks like, but all right, that's what we're going to play with. So we're going to take the Wonderland logo off. We're going to slap that bad boy in there. All right, so he's going to be our cap and our, I guess the top of the stalk that goes into the cap. There's an actual name for that. Don't kill me, biologists. All And I'm thinking that this is actually going to be stock. So we can clean this up. We can make it more white, or bone white, I guess. And we can pick another one of these and like overlay, windows and doors in it at the correct height. So let's go with this, our stock. And I know you're probably watching this going, he's doing what? He's gonna take a part of that and a part of that and make it into one thing. Yeah, you're gonna watch. I'm gonna do it. Very cute. This has a little bench here. Isn't that nice? All right. And now we need to get our little like forest area around our magic mushroom here. Some of these have trees that are a little too tall. This thing needs to be immense. Actually, this isn't too bad. This would be great if it didn't have a bunch of, houses back there. Those trees. Very interesting because, like, I look at this and I go, oh, you look like you're in, like, northern Ohio. Then you go over here and you're like, oh, you're like in Australia. Okay. And I'm just doing it just based on the trees. Just like this is more of a tree style you would see there, and this is more of a tree style you would see in like the northeast or the northwest of the U.S. And pine trees in here. This looks very like Germanic forest. Not re-sold on any of them, so that means I'm going to go with this one. This has the most trees and landscape that look reasonably, I guess, the right size-ish. So we will grab this and throw that there. Right. Now, those are our 3 images. And now we're going to make a composite of those images. Now, if you're not familiar with what a composite is when you take parts of multiple images or multiple things and you put them together layered to make a different thing. Taking pieces from multiple things and turning it into something similar, but something also differently specific. Like I said in the last episode, when everything that we design, regardless of, what part of the process you think is cool and what part of the process you think is, a waste of your time or whatever when you're watching, we are very intentional about every image that we build. There's a concept that goes up in my head. It's usually based on canon. It's based on what has been written in the campaign, which is mostly Phil, a little bit of me peppered in there. And we take that information and I synthesize that here. I put that into GPT and talk with it a little bit about what that should look like and what a prompt should look like for that. And then we go into Midjourney and start seeing what it's actually going to look like and appear like. And because I'm a visual person, I already know in my head what I think based on what is written and what what we're doing with this world. I have an idea in my head what it should look like. So I kind of that's my North Star as I'm building. And don't get me wrong, we pivot, we zig and zag sometimes because things don't work out the way we intended them to. But in the end, the concept we're ending up with is usually 80% of the concept to begin with. The parts are there. It's just how we're putting them together, what they actually look like detail wise, the angles we're using, how we're imposing suspense and fear into the image. All of those things have to be done in the moment while you're building it. So let's get to our composite. All right, so we want the cap thing here. That I think the best thing to do first is to take this image and we're going to clean this real quick. It is all kinds of thorny for absolutely no reason. Watch this, kids. We are going to remove all of these in one shot. Whoa. Gonna get all the little stickies. A few other things while we're at it. All right, let's start with that. And remove objects. If I could type. Boom. Is a neat little trick to Photoshop. Normally you're using generative AI inside Photoshop as a collaborative tool, and you're having it, remove slop and errors and garbage you don't need. Impressions aren't, part of what you want for the actual image. And in doing that, usually you kind of have to circle a thing, tell it to remove it, circle a thing, tell it to remove it. If you hold the shift key down on your keyboard and just keep circling things that you want to remove, just have them remove it all at once. Just one big sweep. Like I keep saying, it's a lot of the stuff that you're doing with generative AI inside of Photoshop, inside Illustrator, all it's doing is automating commands or automating the tools that we already use. So I'm not having to click the button 300 times to erase something. It'll just do it for me. That tool is still here. It's still in Photoshop. I can still use it. I can still do it manually. But why am I going to spend 45 minutes doing this when I can spend 10? Like, I've got better stuff to do. So, that's the whole kind of point of this. There's more art to create. Yeah. So, here we go. We want to clean up this stock a bit. It doesn't matter if it's still a little, brown here towards the bottom, but we do want the base of the stock to be white. Now, here's the interesting thing. In the campaign, it is stated as being bone white. Now, what is the difference between white and bone white? Well, bone white is a little, color-wise, it's a little dirtier. It's a little more cream. Whereas you look at the texture of an actual bone, that texture isn't smooth. It usually has dents or nicks or whatever, age, all those things as part of it. And a lot of times it almost looks like, especially if they've aged, it looks like they almost have some stain, just a light, very light touch, a very light stain kind of over them. You are going to get a variance as far as depth of color. It's not just pearly white, teeth white. It's more of a dingy white, but not so much that you go, that's a different color. It's more, it needs to be white-ish. That's bone for you. So we got rid of all that. That's going to be our base. So we are just going to, we are just chop this right out of here. Here. Right. Take that. It right there. Why it did that, but all right. Okay. That just goes to show you that no two stalks are made alike. So it looks like we are going to have to increase the size of this guy to put this guy's stalk on. I'm okay with that. Gotta be right around. Yay. You. Yay big. Oh, this is fun. This is fun. All right. Get this in a little page so you can actually see it. Right down here, we're going to throw you right next to it. There we go. All right. Now we take this and we drop the fill percentage on it so we can see through it. I don't want to match up where this is relatively. That's pretty close. Now you notice this is much thicker. What we may need to do that's a little more my speed. Not quite as thick as its predecessor, but close enough. Enough. Now you guys are really gonna love this because what I'm gonna do is I am going to get rid of base. the edge here. You got to be careful because this is part of what you're going to remove from the image. You want to make sure you get all the things you want to remove. Now let's see if we can get rid of all that. That's quite a bit to get rid of. All right, just gave me a regular tree. I can respect that. We're gonna put that right over it. Yeah, I think we can work with that. Because now I'll just erase the tree. What do you think about them apples? All right, we're gonna merge those two together. That's that thing. Now we are going to take this part right here and try to remove the tree. Remove object. And again, I can sit here with a spot healing brush for, an hour and a half and completely, maybe not an hour and a half, probably half an hour, more like it. And erase that entire thing. And I may actually have to because it doesn't look like AI is going to do it. So, watch how this works. First, we're going to get rid of just now, it doesn't matter that this is nonsense down here or that your mushroom's floating in the air. Does not matter. The whole point is that you were able to separate that mushroom from the rest of the image. Now you can start tearing up this, mushroom stuff you don't want. Doesn't mean you don't have work to do, but down here, it just means that you were able to get that out of the way. Just a step. I'm going to clean some of this up so it's not in the way here. We will see it anyway because the new stock will go on there. And then, bing, bam. Take a look at this is fitting. We're right there. Yeah. All right. Now we should be able to put a mask on this and start doing some merging. All this. Lights that we don't need. Trying to clean that up a bit. Right. Little bit of the shading done here. And tight. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it may be better because it's got a straight, well, not straight, but you know, a black line there, it might just be better to erase what we need to erase. Right here. Keep our outline intact. That happens a fair amount. You start masking something and erasing it, or not erasing it, but fading it out, and then you realize, you know, I could have just wrapped up the whole thing and manually edited this and been done a lot faster, and it'll look a lot cleaner. Sometimes that's the way you gotta go. All right. Here. And a little more fading. Yeah, it's starting to look great. All right, guys, I am going to take a little bathroom break, grab a little snack, and we will be right back with a little more of Building Wonderland, Nightmares, and Dreamscapes. And we're back. Apologies for the break there. Get back in. I went ahead and removed the mask that I had on there. I'm going to do some manual erasing on the sides rather than trying to fade it. Well, that up here because it's so dark. Down here at the bottom, I shouldn't. Yeah, those colors aren't really going to match on the background. Probably better that we. Yeah, I think we'll just cut what we can cut, like from here. Over. That. Just gonna erase around this a bit, get rid of some of the extra garbage we don't need. Don't ever let them tell you that digital designers don't use their hands. Still gotta manually erase things, manually draw things. Surgery is real, folks. I've been calling it that for, gosh, forever. That's really what it feels like sometimes, especially when you go into a design like this, where it's going to be several layers. It's going to be a wide variety of different techniques and work that you're going to have to use to get what you want out of it. And yeah, it ends up being like surgery. Sometimes you're cutting pieces out that don't work. A lot of times you're cutting pieces out that don't. Sometimes you're moving things from one place to another because it'll work better there. But more than likely, whole goal is to look and feel better when you come out than when you went in. Make a finished product. That looks great and evokes that feeling of suspense and fear and ooh, what is that? Yeah, that's what we're looking for. We want a lot of ooh, what is that? We are doing our best to ensure that the players and the DMs and the community are very aware that you're supposed to be scared. There we go. A little more erasing. Like, erasing isn't super complicated. It's just like, you know, drawing and erasing as a kid, or drawing and erasing as an illustrator. My pen or my eraser is just, you know, I can change size. There we go. Clean that up. Pokey stuff here in a moment because that all looks a little. So let's get to the other side here. This done. Now, we're not going to show him on this particular cover, but I believe it's this module where one of our most interesting character transformations in Wonderland, Nightmares, and Dreamscapes has occurred, and you will get to see him in the near future. We'll put together an episode where we take him from start to finish. It'll be very, very interesting. Not going to tell you who, not going to tell you what it is. You're just going to have to keep tuning in. All kinds of secrets we got here. Some will be revealed on this stream only. That looks pretty good. Out here. Do a little fadery. While we are fading this in and fading some things out, gentle reminder that if you are interested in Wonderland, Nightmares, and Dreamscapes and would like to support us, as you can see, there is no tip jar attached to this stream. I'm not interested in making money off of this. That's not the whole point. The point is show you what I do and how we're building this world. This is a behind the scenes look at something we're producing. But how you can support us is by checking out our Instagram, which is Catastrophe Games. Checking out our Patreon and becoming a member. Only $5. And if you pay the $5 on Patreon, you will have access, exclusive access actually, to the prequel story to Nightmares and Dreamscapes. It is the direct follow-up of Carol's Through the Looking Glass. The first 5 chapters, Wonderland Tales of a Queen, are currently available on our Patreon. Custom illustrations done by moi, fit into the style of a late 19th century, early 20th century novel. Those chapters, all 11 of them, that's right, there are more. Those chapters tell the story of how we get from Through the Looking Glass to Wonderland, Nightmares, and Dreamscapes. There are several clues in those pages. There are incredible stories in those pages. I urge you to check it out. On top of that, we currently have a pre-launch Kickstarter. Our Kickstarter will fully launch later this year. Until then, we urge you to click the support button, or whatever it's called on there, the backer button on Kickstarter. Let us know that you're interested in what we're doing and you want to play. That is the best thing that you can do for us at this time. That and tune in. Feel free to give us a shout. We're available on all the fun major platforms. Get back to you as soon as possible. We are a little busy, but we will get back to you. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here of Wonderland, as Creative Catastrophe Games is a brand new studio that Philip and I have started, specifically to bring a different style of D&D games to Dungeons and Dragons market and the 5e market. We'll start there. Definitely stay tuned. We have several things planned, and I don't just mean now, I mean right now. We are sneaking up on this mushroom. This side is almost complete. That's pretty good. This side shouldn't take more than a moment. Clean line back there. Clean-ish line, so it's not glowing. There we go. And let's remove that because we are not going to fade from there. We faded from here. So let's take a look. Not too shabby, kids. What we're going to do is we are going to chop off chunk right here. This here. Object. Next. Base. Got a floating mushroom up there. Pretty good. Okay. So we kind of have our mushroom. We don't have any doors and windows in it yet. That's fine, we'll get there. Let's go take a look. Pieces we have. I'll call that main mushroom. Main mushroom. Now, we want to take this little forest area and slap the tree in that forest area. Or at least that's the plan. Now, what do you think the best way to do that is? Do you think we tear the mushroom out of this picture and put our mushroom in it? Or do we just chop off this bottom part here, refit it to here, and then tear out this center so the mushroom here fits? Very good question. You could do it either way. There's really no right way to do this. What I'm thinking is first we're going to have to resize this this one we're getting ready to use now to at least fit this size. Otherwise, the trees are going to be off, and we're going to have a lot of empty space we've got to account for at the base. So this needs to at least be here. Right. The trees are in different spots. I'm sorry, the mushrooms are in different spots in the image. You see one over here is a little bit to the left where this one is. So once it gets placed in there, not really going to fit centered. So for me, the way that I like to do it is based on project. So for this in particular, I think it's going to be easier to take this mushroom and put it inside this image at this particular location because it's not centered. Because it needs to fit in this little nook behind some other trees. If it didn't have this there and it was by itself, I would say do it the other way. But I think visually it's going to be easier for me to match it and make sure it looks the way it's supposed to if I do it this way. That's what we're going to do. We're going to rip this mushroom out like it didn't exist. That should be fun. Now here's the thing. Most people will probably tell you, yeah, just circle the whole mushroom and tear that whole thing out. Don't do that. Don't listen to them. They don't know what they're doing. If you do that, you're giving generative AI way too much space to have to replace. So the responses you're going to get are going to be closer to garbage than they are what you actually want and what actually fits the image. So you're better off doing it in big hunks. If you can pull it off, because sometimes, like it just did, it's not going to let me. It's just going to change whatever's here. So, and sometimes that's the case. You try that first. If that doesn't work, then you have to kind of do it backwards, which is a little ridiculous, but it's the only way you can get it to do it. You do have to take the whole thing. It's probably going to give you a crap response. And then you're going to have to go over that crap response and fix all that. But we'll see. We'll see what it does. Maybe it'll give me a whole different city. Huh, there you go. It deaded our tree. Look at that. I'll take that. It's not the worst. Now we merge those two things together. And we are going to chop off this part. So essentially the same thing. You chop off pieces of it. Because if you try to do any more, it's going to get real messy. You're already seeing some mess up here with this, up in this area where the paint is. We'll have to cover over that after we get done with this. Oh, look at that lighthouse tower. about having to walk up some stairs. Can't be fun. Alright, so now what I'm concerned more about is the background. I don't give a shit about the pole. I'm going to get rid of that, but I want to make sure that whatever's going on in the background is, I don't have to completely like redo this. That looks like there's some kind of vortex happening. That is way too dark. That is probably the best one. Let's go with that. Now, and a lot of people will tell you, and I've heard this argument. I've heard both sides actually, that sometimes what I'm doing, like this, is not graphic design. It's not digital design. Maybe, but what it is creative direction, because part of creative direction is taking the things that are in front of you and going, I like that, I like that, that needs to go. Let's cut this part out. Let's move this over here. That's a major part of creative direction, which is exactly what I'm doing with AI. So I'm treating it in some cases like it's an artist that works for me. So I tell it, take this image, I want you to do this with it, I want you to do that with it, I want you to do this with it, and then come back to me when you're complete with what you think I asked you to do, and let me see the finished product, and then we can edit from there. That is 100% creative direction, and I've been on both sides of that that relationship, so I know exactly how that works, and this is exactly what that is. So no, not everything can really be categorized as illustration or graphic design or digital design or creative direction. I have to do all those things. They're interchangeable with this particular project because we are building a world. You know how hard it is to build a world? Like a whole world. And this one already existed. Like, we didn't have to, I mean, we have to imagine all of this, obviously, but we had a base plate to work from. Imagine doing that with nothing out of nowhere. Well, guess what? We're doing that too. Just not on this project. You'll find out eventually. Back to our little monument here. Now all of a sudden, look at this. Now it's got some kind of thing at the top that is gathering light from the sky. Yeah, we're getting a little wild here. So we are going to remove all of this, including the steps. Including the steps? Yeah, including the steps. We don't want the steps. I think the whole idea that Philip was trying to get across when you come across this particular mushroom is that it doesn't appear that there is any. So that is my major focus, is making sure that it doesn't look like there is a way up. Look at that. Just creating a spot right there in the middle for me. So now we're going to take our mushroom, this guy right here. Take this guy, and we are going to put him right there. Okay. Let me just play it. No, it is not. Well, that's mean. No, that's okay. I'm gonna have to fade it in. I just wanted to fit. Yeah, it'll fit behind those trees there. That'll look dope. That'll look dope. It'll look less like it's in a full clearing, and it'll look more like it's okay. You go through this forest, and there's like an opening, a little opening in the forest that this is the next big tree or whatnot. It's not like we cleared out 6 acres around this thing and the mushrooms in the middle of 6 acres, which is what AI likes to do when you tell it that there's a clearing. Boy, it likes to clear like nobody's business. There's nothing within 3 miles of whatever object you're putting in that clearing. So you kind of have to build the environment yourself. So this is a good spot, good positioning. You can see where the orange is. That's kind of where the frame of that's going to go. And now, our favorite part. Now, we mask. Okay. Round. Cap the mushroom. Fade it into the background of the image. Now you don't have to be perfect with it. The idea is just to make sure that you stay consistent with what you're highlighting and not highlighting. Like I'm going around the edge of this because I want to make sure that when we put it back into Midjourney, we're not giving it extra options to screw things up. I want the mushroom cap to be clear, that it's separated from the sky. They aren't one object because, trust me, that's a thing. If you put something in and prompt just doesn't cover what it is that AI thinks you're doing for one reason or another, it can think two objects are one thing because they're similar color palettes and they're next to each other. So you have to be pretty careful when you're doing this process. Now, this process is a little similar to what we were doing in the last episode, where, and not all designs are like this, it's where we're having to kind of build a composite of what we want the image to be, and then feeding it into AI to get a more accurate version of that, or the angle that we like or the style that we like. We're putting a little flavor on it, but the main design is still being done here manually in Photoshop because it's just not capable of building the same kind of things that I'm capable of building. It's not there yet. Maybe the $20,000 a month membership version of whatever will do that for you, but I'm not independently wealthy, so I'm not paying that. I will stick with my $19.99. Thanks very much. Point being that this is one way to do the process, but what you will see in the media is more of a, oh, you type in the prompt to AI and it gives you the images you want based on that, and then you can go use that for whatever purpose you want. Yeah, no, it's not that good. What has to happen, or doesn't have to happen, but what our process is that sometimes we're able to get the base image that we're looking for, like just the basic character and what they're wearing, or just the basic landscape and what's supposed to be in it, the contents of it. Sometimes we're able to get that first, and then we can build from there. And then sometimes we have to do it this way, where we literally have to build what it is we're looking for as best we think it should look, and then we feed it back into Midjourney and have it make the adjustments visually that we want based on that image, like I'm about to do with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up, and then we are going to add some doors and windows. In other words, we are going to turn this mushroom into a condo. Because what we should be able to do is take this mushroom condo and once we have it architecturally the way that we want it to look, we can then go back to Midjourney and have it repaint it. We can have it reissue it from a different angle. We can have it darken it quite a bit so it's a little more creepy. All of those things are options. And we're probably going to do all of them, matter of fact. But it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder, sometimes there's more layers involved, sometimes there's more work involved, sometimes it's less work. It really depends on what it is you're working with. Like, there may be a character that I have to spend 4 to 5 hours prompting and iterating and waiting for Midjourney to come back with something that is what I'm looking for, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes that's all it takes, and then I can get like 70 to 80% of the character there outside of cleaning them up and fixing AI errors and slop. The crux of that character is there, and then we can go and build on that, the things that we need to build. And sometimes that's not that big of a deal. That character ends up being easier to build. And then you've got somebody else who has to have a different head and a different body and different arms and different, has to have armor on, or has to be wearing this, or has to be wearing that, and has to have this magical item and has to have this ability. And all of those things are something that AI it can't understand all of that in what's too much in one image. So we have to break it down to pieces. We get the base model, like you're buying a car. You get the base model, and then you start upgrading it as you make more money. Same thing we do here. We get the base model and we start upgrading it with different pieces. That's the same process that I would use if I wasn't using Midjourney. If I was just using clip art and stock photos and stock imagery and whatever's available on the web, same process, same thing. All right, so we need to get the trees in here. We have to move this guy down a little. I believe he needs to be like right in here. Yeah, sure, something like that. Take this. Trees are in front. Oh, it looks like we left a piece here of the old mushroom. Let's get rid of that. Excuse me for eating and designing. I'm always eating and always designing, so just part of the program. too hard, huh? That works. All right, now we slap this back in here. And we're going to start fading these trees in around the mushroom. We're going to get a little Bob Ross here, and we're just going to fade these happy trees, or these eerie trees as they would be, into our mushroom. Just going to quietly fade them in so everything gets placed the way they want. And there we go. Already starting to look a little more realistic, right? And see, that's the thing. It's the thing you have to understand about Wonderland. Just because things are fantastical, just because this is, I think what most would call a dream world, does not mean that there are certain parts of it that are that need to have a certain amount of realism with them. Like a mushroom has to look like a mushroom. Can't look like something else. It's still a mushroom. It can be oversized. It can be massive, like this one is, and that's the fantastical part of it. But it still looks like a mushroom. Like that's still there. What do you think? We think we put the trees in front of it? I think we put the trees in front of it. I think. Need a little fading here. Too much. Right. All right, we'll figure that out. That's not a super big issue. This image, what I'm more worried about is getting this tree in here. This tree up front. Give this a little more dimension. Go. Tree in here already. Getting there. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Just as long as it is clear enough that you can see. And what do we think? See how far it'll let me go back. Nope, that's it. Okay. That's kind of where we're at. And then what we're going to do is... I think we're going to do just a light. What the hell is going on here? I have to keep that like. All right. And that, my friends, is our composite image. That's not perfect, but going to be enough to get the job done in a moment. All right. Fairly nice, fairly clean. It is looking a little spaceshipy out there in the middle of the forest, but that's all right. Cranking up on 2 hours in this session, just passing the 2 hour mark. Right. Got some things. All right. Now, what do you think? Do you think we put windows, doors, whatever in there first before we do the look from the ground? Or do you put them in after? I'm going to tell you from my experience, you want to put them in first. Ideally, you want to give Midjourney as much information as possible that it can work with. Otherwise, it's not getting done. There we go. All right, in this juncture, how about we take a little break? We'll be back in about 10, 15 minutes, something like that. We're here at Building Wonderland, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. We're almost here. Look at this mushroom we got going on there. I think that's half the battle. Give me 10, 15, and I'll be back. We're back once again. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Right, we got a big mushroom in front of us. Let's put some windows and doors on this bitch. All right, let's get this off of here because there are some windows and doors already in it, but they're they're AI windows and doors, which means they're kind of crap. Let's make that a little bit bigger, and we'll get rid of here, right there, and whatever that is, and that. Radio. Okay. I know it's not a window, but we're gonna get rid of this anyways because it looks weird. Weird pocket right there. Not really sure why it looks like that. All right. This tool I'm using right now is literally the same exact thing that you're doing when you use the generative AI products in Photoshop to remove an object or change the way an object looks or anything like that. It's the same tool. It's just I'm using it manually to do smaller things, and it's a little bit easier to have generative AI do some of the bigger things that would take me hours of using this tool to do. Still do them. Still get them done. Tool's still here in Photoshop. It's not going anywhere. It's been there for 2 decades at least. So, spot healing brush is your number one friend. All right, let's do some windows and doors. Get those windows and doors. We are going to have to go back to La Midjourney. And what we can do now is find one of these images that have doors and windows that we like. And right away, what I'm seeing, that is not it. These are a little more along the lines of what I was thinking. You know what? We're gonna check. We're gonna snap a little photo of that. We're gonna send that over to the partner in crime. Are these the types of windows, doors you were looking? In the mushroom. Window panes, not pants, window panes, and actual doors. Like with a hinge. I love him. He's hilarious. He writes these campaigns and these modules, and he puts all this detail and all of this intriguing scenery and all of these interactions and whatnot together, and then I take what he's written and I turn that into a visual, and I send it to him and go, "Hey, were you thinking about this?" And he's like, "Honestly, I had no idea what that would look like. That's incredible." He does that every time. It's hilarious to me because yeah, he's writing all these very vibrant encounters and landscapes and whatnot, but he's not seeing a particular visual picture with that. He's seeing more of a pathway through this landscape rather than necessarily the individual visual parts. But he's still creating them. He's the one writing it. Like I'm getting it from him. So that cracks me up. I'll never be able to figure that one out, but it's great. He makes it up, and then I make it up, and then we make it up, and that's how Wonderland comes to life. I don't know. Let's see if he actually answered the question now that I think about it. Sorry about that. We were trying to figure out which route to go. Do we like just the cutout windows and doors like you see in this particular mushroom, or are we more interested in, I don't know, something like this where you see actual like pane windows and actual doors and little houses built out of it? You know, which direction are we going in? That's a good question. You know what? Let me show him this as well. Sorry, folks. We're just trying to decide which direction we want to go in here. We definitely do like, uh, original sill look here, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're staying true to our canon, our story, our campaign, making sure that the things that have to work within this scene and within this encounter, that everything that we're doing is intentional and functional for what we want to accomplish. So I think we are going to go with these style windows here. And because we only have one of these, this is one of the real bonuses of Midjourney. I can honestly say, I can appreciate being a designer, having this option available to me. Normally, free AI. Excuse me, sorry, I need to chew that real quick. Free AI, you go get stock photos, you go to clip art, you go get images from whatever services you used. Now, when you did that, and you're building an image, you've usually only got one option. You pick a stock image or a couple of stock images to put together, but those are all you get to work with. So if there's a feature of one of those images that you want to replicate or use multiple times for one reason or another, you have to take whatever's in the image you have, replicate that only. And unfortunately, you're stuck with what looks like the same exact piece everywhere that you decide to put it. And it's pretty noticeable that you use the same thing over and over again all over the place. It's not the best look. So one of the great features of Midjourney is if you have an image that has features of it that you want to use, like this particular image where we want to use the windows and doors that we see up here in the top, in the cap, and up here in the stalk. We want to use those, but I want to use all the ones in this image, and I don't like all the ones in this image. They're not all cut right. They're not all placed correctly. I want some extras. So what I can do is I can just hit one more variant, have it run a variant run of just this image. So what it'll show me is 4 new versions of the same image that have slight differences. And in this case, we'll have different windows, different placement, different doors in that particular mushroom. That gives us now 5 different kind of stock photos to pull the same ingredients out of, and that way we can put them where we want on our image, and they won't look like they're the same. They won't look like you took the same one window and put it 50 places, or the same door and put it 6 different places. That's the idea. You'll be able to have multiple different options to choose from. Now, the only problem with this is sometimes when you do a variant, it varies a little too much, or it decides to vary something that you didn't want it to vary. Like, I don't want it to vary the windows and doors. I want it to keep those and vary wherever. I mean, I want it to vary them, but I want them to still be cut out like they are. I don't want a wide variety of windows and doors. I want those windows and doors, just more of them. And unfortunately, it doesn't know that. So you're going to get still a wide variety. Like, that's an interesting one. What is going on with that stock? Look at that. That's very... I may have to send that to Philip. And see, this is a little more traditional windows, traditional doors. Like, this is closer to what we're looking at, but you know what? They're still not what I was after. So, you know, that whole thing I just told you is not working right now. Sometimes that happens. What we did get out of it is this image. I'm going to send that over to him. See what he thinks. What do you think of those windows, doors, cut into odd shapes? Nothing really looks. Now, see, I kind of like these because if you look closely, these are still openings. They're still meant to be like parts of like rooms or whatever that are in this mushroom, but they're all different shapes and sizes. So it's like nothing really looks like an entrance or an exit. It's very interesting looking. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Just a random thought. I threw it by him. He told me that was his least favorite of the 3. I explained why it piqued my interest. He understood that, saw what I saw, and said, you know what? I think traditional is probably a little bit better way to go. We don't want to get too weird. We want to get weird. We're already weird, but we don't want to get too weird because then people start looking at your stuff, going, "What happened here? What is going on?" You got to make sure that when you're creating things and adding things, unless your entire intention is just to be as strange as humanly possible, um, I gather the idea is to actually get people to have an interest and like what it is that you made. So it's a lot easier get that reaction if they can follow what it is that you designed and what you made. So if I sent that image to him and he looks at it and goes, "What the hell is this?" That's probably going to be most people's reactions. So we're not going to go that way. Instead, we are going to snag this bad boy. Work with it. Minutes or so before we take a break for the day. Might be back on later, but that truly depends on all the other things that this guy needs to get done for this massive project we've undertaken. It is not all fun and games, folks. There are meetings and paperwork and project management and all kinds of things that have to be done to make this possible. So have to take care of as well. All right, so I think what we're going to do is we are going to now. I was about to have a thought and it was not a smart thought. Let's take this guy up the map. And grab just that. Now, don't get me wrong. That's not going to happen. That doesn't work real well. Move it up a little bit. Okay. All right, so you can get some windows on the left. It's not really enough. Well, boo. Oh, that way. Let's see. A little bit. Catch. Oh, now we're getting a little crazy. part that you just kind of have to do by eye. No other way to do it. Tell you. It trying to merge images together. Luck, son. Good luck. Burn some tokens, make it happen. Easier. Do it yourself. It has not figured that out yet. A little bit. There we go. Right. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's not the point. Just want to get right content in there. We want to get a few windows in the stock. We got them in the cap up here. We want to get a few windows in the stock that are about, I'd probably say, in this darker area, in this shadowed area. That's probably where they would be, like dotted all in here. You don't want them down in here because people can get to them. So we are going to take all the ones up. Oh, sorry, folks. Excuse the yawning. Day. Lunch. All right, so I think this here is going to be the lowest one. No, you know, it fits better right there because I can blend that right in. Okay. Got that one there. And I think having these two is probably good. There we go. I think that's staggered enough. Maybe one more take. Do is just one duplicate. Just one's not going to hurt you too much. Especially if you flip it. Right in there. All right, then we move this. Get in here, and we can start fading in our windows. Start with this one up here. And this should take but a moment. This, find it. All right. And there you have it, folks. A literal mush room. We're going to make some more mushrooms. Specifically these guys right here. That should be a little bit here just to fade right. All that excess garbage around the outside. Slowly start blending in actual windows. Trick is that you don't want to let your blend brush drag it go into the opening. It stays on the outside edge at all times. Don't, and you go into it, you will fade a little bit or blend a little bit of the edge of the window, and you'll lose that. And in this particular environment, do not want to lose edging because everything kind of blends together already color-wise. Because it's a bunch of grays and browns and greens and tans and yellows and you know, they're dimmer colors because that's kind of the palette that we've gone with. And when you use that, things can blend together. So you have to be very, very careful about how you're blending and where you're trying to make certain things seen, and not just you know, something for the background. Really got to be careful you don't blend it in too much. These windows should be okay. They have a nice glow to them, so it's pretty tell where they are. Here, right between windows. You also have to be careful with this one because you have two windows that are technically on the same layer when it comes to where they're situated in this particular Photoshop file. So if you're over here and you're trying to do something over here and you bring your brush too wide, it's going to affect both of them. You're not just affecting the one that you're actually working on, you're affecting everything around it. And that window, the second one, is on the same layer. So you're going to affect that every single time if you're not careful. That's why you see me using these strokes that are very, very short. Trying not to get in the way of the image background or the opposite window from the one that I'm working on. Like in here, you gotta get it extremely tight just to clean this area. All right, look pretty good. Bottom. The doodad up here. Pretty good. Okay. Back out. That's 3 out of 4. One more mushroom. That's never gonna get old. Not in this cover. All right, this one should be pretty easy to maneuver as well. And this. Sure that goes along the tree line of the tree. You don't mess with the tree at all. Unless you absolutely have to. No. Oh, there we go. Sugar. Woo. All right, cleaning up this last window here. Not too bad. Should be whole gimmick right there. What do we think? That's a little bit cleaner. Few windows out of the way there just so they're not quite as messy. Right. Organize this a little bit. All one big image we don't need. Ooh. Mushrooms. There you go. This is our mushrooms image. Now, we're going to save that. Okay. We're going to save it again. Flat JPEG. We're going to back out of that before we forget we did it, so we don't mess up our file. Then we're going to flip this into GPT. Upload this into GPT, base image, and say, "Hi assistant, please create a Midjourney ready image prompt using this image as an Omni reference." The prompt is to take this image and view the same mushroom tower, but from the angle as if you were standing close to it, underneath it, looking up at the towering I'm gonna call it the towering, not the towering mushroom, but the towering structure. There we go. Let's give it that and see what it can do. And see, it immediately understood what I was talking about without having to actually type it in. I said it earlier to you guys. I'm thinking about the perspective as if you're standing beneath the skyscraper and looking straight up. That's exactly what it just said. So, it's not completely useless, but you still have to manage and massage it. So we're going to upload our mushrooms. That's going to go into our Omni reference. That is our prompt. We're going to drop our Omni strength down to 100. Keep it basic at first. We're definitely doing a portrait. We're definitely doing stylization. We are a go. So off we run, and I'm going to do 2 sets of these. And look at that. We have made it past hour 3. Just over 4 p.m. here Eastern Standard Time. We are probably going to cut off here shortly. So, while we're waiting for that, let's blow this thing up and see what it looks like. Just because we can. Got what? 6 layers in there just to make that. We are going to duplicate this with it. We're going to merge all those together. Still have the here. And then we're going to blow this up. Why not, right? And with the Wonderland logo over it, you could get away with that. Get away with that. I can fade that in. But yeah, just it's kind of flat. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't get a sense of anything when I see that. It's just okay, there's a big mushroom tower with windows I can't get to and a bunch of spider webs. Like I don't know. I gotta feel it. Nope, still thinking. Still thinking about it. It's a tough one. I agree. 100%. Now, the other thing we're gonna have to figure out is great. So we get the angle we're looking for. We get it to where we're looking up at a skyscraper and the base of the cap is over here and you see a couple of windows and doors and just huge stalk and whatever. However, it decides to pull that off. We put that there. Next step is going to be dumping spider webs all over this thing because the idea is that a spider has covered this area, and the adventurers are going to have to do something about it. Here we go. All right, all right. It's starting to understand. It's got a couple down here that look like it figured it out. Hmm. I'm not entirely sure what it did here. It basically just remade what I already did, which is not what I asked for. Okay. Hmm. So for 6 out of 8 of these, it basically made a wonkier version of what I created. Yay, aunties. Which, by the way, for future reference, because I'll probably say it quite a lot, whenever Philip or I are utilizing AI in our process, we generally refer to that as talking with the aunties, because they're supposed to be special. So that's not too bad. It's not very menacing. What we want to do is we want to use this as an image reference, not the Omni reference, just an image reference. Then we want to take this and make it the Omni reference and make it stronger. And then grab the same prompt. Try it again. And see if that'll pick it up. Now, this isn't bad. This isn't bad either. I'm just not getting the menacing angle that I'm looking for. This is getting there. It's a step in the right direction. So if we were to drop this here, we'll put it in here as mushroom flat. Take that off, and then we will put this guy, obviously, way too bright. The funny thing is, I'm not even thinking like that. I'm thinking like this. Yeah, see, I'm thinking more like that. Put this, sharpen it a little bit because it got a little blurry when I blew it up. I just did it the manual way. I didn't use AI to do it. Darker. Not perfect, obviously. That. There you go. Put it like that. I mean, it's not as menacing as I would like it to be, but it's getting there. It's a little bit closer. Not quite the right angle. Obviously, you can see that. Right, bump that out. Let's see what got. Oh, and we're on our way. And none of those look like what I was asking for. I think we might have went the wrong way with the omni-reference amount. We might need to go down to 50 instead. All right. So we're doing it again. We dropped the omni-reference strength on it, so it's not trying to just remake what I already gave it, which just seems like that's what it's doing a lot of the times. It's remaking a lot of what I already did. I also edited the prompt so that in there it knows specifically that I expect the tower and from the viewpoint that we're at to grow off the page. It's massive. So the cap and the top of the tower are going to be completely off the edge. It needs to know that because it's trying to put the whole mushroom from that angle in the image, and that ruins the angle of the image. The angle I'm looking for is you're gonna have a fair amount of it cut off. You're not gonna see it, but I still need that angle for the stalk and the windows to work properly. So I don't care if it gets cut off, that's fine. But it has to know that, otherwise it's gonna keep trying to fit everything in the frame. We'll give this another minute, and then we will probably call it an afternoon, folks. It is about 4:15 here, and running for over 3 hours. Building module 4 cover for Wonderland, Nightmares and Dreamscapes. 1 through 3 already completed. 4 through 14 still to go. We're going to be here for the rest of the month cranking these out. New covers every episode is what we're working on. You're going to see how we're building every part of what you're going to see on every cover of our campaign module. As I've stated before, campaign is 14 modules. It will take 14 months to play our competitive campaign. It is a long run. As we all know, if you know a little bit about D&D, getting everyone together in one room at one time might take you an entire month to make that happen. So we're giving you plenty of time to plan this out in advance. Kickstarter coming later this year, in a few months actually. Getting ready to ramp up right now. Just read the chat. Philip says, perhaps move the point of view to be closer to the base of the mushroom. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, dude. We've been talking about that for 45 minutes. We're trying to get this thing to understand that. That's the whole problem. Now, hopefully this round fixed it. We'll see real quick here if this did it. If not, we'll come back either later tonight or tomorrow and try it again with the Wizard of Midjourney, the wizard behind the curtain of Midjourney. What we got here? It did not listen to me. That's what we have. I can tell you that much. None of these are off the page, although they are better angles. Give it that. And again, this may be one of those things where we have to iterate for Midjourney, where okay, we get one of these mushrooms, we get it at a better angle than what we were originally working with, and then I do what I just did. I cut it into Photoshop, blow it up, and throw it right back into Midjourney and say, no, I want something closer to this. Try again, buddy. That may be where we end up with, because a couple of these don't look bad, but they are just not they're just not big enough, and they're just not, you're not close up enough. I want to be right down here. I want to see the view from this guy standing behind this bush, looking straight up at this thing. That's what I'm looking for. These are not bad, but they're going to have to be blown up and reformatted, repositioned, and we'll probably have to run them back through. See, that's not too bad. That's a little bit better. But again, see this house down here? We need to be standing on the ramp stairway that goes up to this house. That's the view that I want of this mushroom. I want to see that. So that's where we'll stop for the moment. We'll come back either later this evening or tomorrow. Keep your eye out for notifications and finish this bad boy up. Until then, This is the Design Mark, Building Wonderland, Nightmares and Dreamscapes, signing off for the afternoon. You guys have a good rest of the day.